Flushing, Long Island, the General Assembly of the United Nations has made its decision on Palestine. The map shows what partition means. The Jewish state colored light, the Arab state dark, Jaffa to go to the Arabs, Jerusalem internationalized.
No Arab state voted for the 1947 partition of Palestine.
The Arab delegates declare a boycott as the final roll call has begun.
In the face of total opposition from all Arab nations, including the Palestinians, the Zionist movement used bribery, threats, and even an assassination attempt against President Truman to pass the 1947 UN partition of Palestine vote by the necessary two-thirds supermajority. The U.S. State Department had strenuously opposed the partition of Palestine and the creation of the State of Israel, considering both to be contrary to American principles and U.S. interests, against indigenous Palestinian wishes, and a violation of democratic principles. The Joint Chiefs warned that the Zionist strategy will seek to involve the United States in a continuously widening and deepening series of operations intended to secure maximum Jewish objectives. U.S. Secretary of Defense James Forrestal said the partition plan and creation of Israel could endanger U.S. national security. Despite all this, U.S. President Harry Truman supported both the partition of Palestine and recognition of Israel. Yitzhak Shamir's terrorist Stern Gang attempted to assassinate Truman in the summer of 1947, a few months before the partition vote. Harry Truman's daughter, Margaret, disclosed this incident in her biography of her father. Yitzhak Shamir's Stern Gang mailed letter bombs to Truman and senior White House staff members that could have killed or maimed them. Although the Secret Service intercepted the letters, Truman got the message loud and clear. As a result of both this threat against his life and in an attempt to appease domestic Zionist Jewish voters and collect Zionist campaign funds, Truman both supported the 1947 partition vote and rushed to recognize Israeli statehood in 1948 against the objections of his diplomatic advisors.
We had several other people in the country, even among the Jews, the Zionists particularly, who were against anything that was to be done if they couldn't have the whole of Palestine and everything handed to them on a silver plate so they wouldn't have to do anything. It couldn't be done. We had to take it in small doses. You can't move 5 or 6 million people out of a country and fill it up with 5 or 6 million more and expect both sets of them to be pleased. We had all sorts of objections to everything that was done. Something had to be done. We went ahead and done it and had it done, and now it's working out. Eventually, I think we'll have them all satisfied, but it's going to take a great deal of time yet to get the job done.
In fact, it was Abraham Feinberg, the same treasonous lobbyist who later funded Israel's nuclear weapons program and tried to buy JFK's Middle East foreign policy, who would finance Truman's whistle-stop election campaign in 1948. Furthermore, the Zionist president of United Fruit Company, Samuel Zemurray, worked directly with future Israeli President Chaim Weizmann to flagrantly buy UN votes for the November 1947 partition plan. Zemurray asked each leader in the region 2 questions. How do you intend to vote on partition, and can your vote be changed? Zemurray told Weizmann that every vote from Mexico to Colombia was for sale. Zionists used every trick imaginable to pressure and cajole world leaders. Costa Rica's president, Jose Figueres, reportedly received a blank checkbook. Haiti was promised economic aid if it would change its original vote opposing partition. Zionist financier and longtime presidential advisor Bernard Baruch told France it would lose U.S. aid if it voted against partition. The wives of Latin American country delegates received mink coats. In the end, All the Zionist threats and bribery resulted in the UN passing the partition plan despite all Arab countries opposing it and with no support from the Palestinians who actually owned Palestine. Thus, the UN vote to partition Palestine was a Zionist-controlled political rubber stamp on the Zionist theft of Palestine. It wasn't a binding vote, just an advisory opinion, but it was used as an excuse to steal the country. Even David Ben-Gurion later admitted that the Zionists had stolen Palestine. Ben-Gurion said in a conversation with Zionist leader Nahum Goldman, quote, "Why should the Arabs make peace? If I was an Arab leader, I would never make terms with Israel. That is natural. We have taken their country. Sure, God promised it to us, but what does that matter to them? Our God is not theirs. We come from Israel, it's true, but 2,000 years ago, and what is that to them? There has been anti-Semitism, the Nazis, Hitler, Auschwitz, but was that their fault? They, the Palestinians, only see one thing. We have come here and stolen their country. Why should they accept that?" End quote. The atrocious historical crime of the partition of Palestine and the theft of the country would eventually have been called into question for JFK if he'd found out about the NUMEC Zionist nuclear weapons smuggling operation. One revelation would have led to more questions and more revelations of Zionist crimes. Had the public found out Israel was stealing nuclear weapons materials from the Pennsylvania plant, Israel at minimum would have been permanently exiled from American halls of power.